Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, everyone. I guess it is. It is evening. Thank you for coming out or coming on this beautiful night in Indiana. We don't get a lot of these in March, and this is just gorgeous. I think I'm actually doing this from home and walked by about 400 dogs on my way. Drove by about 400 dogs out for a walk on my way. What a gorgeous night! I'm going to try to keep it just right at an hour tonight. I'm not going to go over that just because everybody's got things to do, and so that's why I think we should be able to do this in an hour. If not, we can stay on and we'll just stay till we're done. But that's probably about the time we're looking at. This is a little bit different than if you've never been here before. We're joined today by Kelly Quigley, who is my wife. She and I got married last year. She was Kelly Soto, and we've been working together for a number of years. But um, we are what we do is what she does is she is the director of client relations, and she talks with just board presidents. She talks to board presidents all day long, trying to catch up with you. I'm sure you've all gotten emails from her or talked to her about different things. If there's a problem going on in the neighborhood, if you have a question, or if there's something we can go on, that is her. That is her job with Kirkpatrick Management Company. We are very lucky to have somebody that can just do that and focus on the board's presidents. If there's questions, if there's problems, if little things come up here and there, she's able to talk to the regional managers, who will talk to the managers and try and get things back on track again. What we're doing today is we've reached out to the board presidents. This is more of a roundtable. We're going to talk about capital projects and project management, probably more on a higher level. A lot of you have done this before. We're going to go over some basics. If you're a new board president, we're not going to leave you behind or think you know everything. We're going to go over some basics, but I do encourage people to chime in if they have questions. I think the best thing to do is for you to. There's a raise hand icon on your bar there. Go ahead and hit that thing if you have a question or a comment. At the end, we're going to kind of talk a little bit. Let me go ahead and do this so we can see. This is what we're going to do. This is our agenda today. We're going to talk about what is a capital project, what to do to get started. We're going to talk about funding, reserves, or a special assessment. What is a reserve study? We're going to talk a little bit about project management, and then along the way, I'm going to talk about different things I've done and how I've done it. I've been in the industry now. This is my 14th year. Kelly has been in the industry. We're guessing around 20 years in 3 different states, and so it's just we've got some different knowledge we're going to bring to the game, but you also have done this from the other end. We've done it as managers. I've never done it as a board member, so we'll have some different ideas. And the goal is for you guys to be able to share your what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and we're going to do the same thing. So Kelly, I'm going to go ahead, and we do really appreciate our marketing director, Alyssa Shore, is on the call with us. She stayed late tonight to kind of help us out, just to navigate this and see if we can go through this and get going on and walk away with a little bit of knowledge on what capital projects are, what's the best business practices for some things. And you might say, hey, what if we do this, or what if we do that? I encourage that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And this is kind of a just your everyday definition of what we're calling capital improvement. Capital improvements are structural alteration additions that raise the value of the property, lengthen its usefulness through enhanced quality durability. So, sorry about that. That's my dog. I apologize for that. Maintenance projects, and if we'll talk about those, are really going to be the smaller ones. And hold on one second. I'm sorry, Kelly. Can you maybe help me out on that one? Thank you. Maintenance projects we're going to refer to. We're actually both home doing this, so that's kind of a tag team here. Sorry about that. The dog did not agree with the fact that she's not out on the walk tonight, so my apologies there. The maintenance projects, we'll talk a little bit about that. And so just different smaller repairs. There is some debate, and a lot of it has to do with the upkeep as far as maintenance project. There's an ongoing debate if you talk to a reserve specialist on painting. Painting, is that maintenance, or is that a reserve item? We consider it a reserve item. There are some people out there like, okay, well, painting is maintenance. and it is, upkeep and just keeping stuff going. But a lot of times nobody ever gets to just go out there and paint. We're always repairing some wood. So that in our feeling, that makes it into a reserve project. Thank you, Kelly. Example of capital projects. What we're going to be talking about tonight, projects like asphalt, rebuilding balconies. We've got a neighborhood this year that's got 10 balconies being rebuilt. Remodeling a clubhouse. A number of years ago, we had a neighborhood completely knock down their clubhouse, start all over, do a brand new one. That's a capital project, takes lots of time. Replacing roofs. That has been something in the last 10 years a lot of our neighborhoods have gone through, especially the condominium associations. A lot of roofs have been replaced. That's a big number. I mean, those come in the $1 million range a lot of times if we're replacing a roof. And so that is something that you cannot really plan on having we can't rely on a hailstorm. I can't budget for a hailstorm. You just can't do that. That's been a great savior for a lot of us through the years, but it's coming time where we're going to be doing some roofs in most of our neighborhoods, and the hails we're not going to be able to put that off on hail. And replacing siding. How many of us, if you're in a building now that has had siding and you're coming up on your 20 to 30 year mark, your siding might be looking a little sad. It might be time to maybe get a new look on what you've got going on. And then also replacement projects over 5,000. So when we do, when we're trying to figure out where to put something in our accounting system, basically we're looking at a replacement of something. If we're replacing a couple pool chairs and it doesn't come to $1,000, even though that's something that's we are replacing an item that is going to last for a number of years. I'm probably not going to put that in the reserve. You can if you want to. We'll put it wherever you tell us it's your money, but we're going to recommend that you probably put that under pool expense somewhere along that lines, just because it's going to be it's just going to be an expense down the road. It's not going to be that huge of an expense, and unless you do the whole place, you're going to do the whole neighborhood, and you got 35 new chairs, a couple chases, and some tables and chairs. That's a replacement project for sure. I think a lot of you understand this, but we're going to kind of go over this and start from the high to the low. But you really need to prioritize the capital improvement projects to maintain and enhance community assets while keeping the property values high. That is our job, right? I mean, our job as a board, our job as community association managers, we are in charge of maintaining property values, making sure the neighborhood looks great. We want to be able to say, that we want our home values to stay up. And so a lot of these things, clubhouse roof, improving energy efficiency, maybe changing everything over to LED. A lot of us did that a number of years ago. Upgrading amenities, a lot of can address a range of needs and repairs. But the planning is really going to be the key on this, because you can't really do this without having a plan of attack. Even if, okay, this is my first year on the board, I got elected president because nobody else wanted to be president, and I think it's time to redo the clubhouse. I want it painted. I want it. We want a brand new roof, and we want to replace the pool deck furniture. So a lot of that, it's a great idea, and maybe there is money in the budget for that. But really, this is something that you're going to want to make sure is budgeted. Maybe it's fully budgeted, and you can see. So when you have an annual meeting, your homeowners can see that and see what's going on. A lot of large neighborhoods don't have a huge turnout for annual meetings, but a budget is something that somebody's always going to look for and see. And if all of a sudden you got a brand new, you got all this work going on, and they didn't know that it was going on, it's just going to be a little trouble down the road. So we want to make sure the proper planning and management of your assets is going to maximize your benefits and your costs. Really think that that's something, just making sure that you're not coming into a year and just going at this. Oh, sorry, I got to go back for a second here. So a lot of times we'll talk in a second about a reserve study, but how to finance these projects. The reserve funds is what we're gonna go for. There's 3 different ways. There's a third way that I don't have on here, but we'll talk a little bit about. We don't do it as much right now, but most, I would say 90% of our projects are coming out of reserve funds, and they are budgeted in your reserve funds. It is something where we knew it was coming because of a reserve study. We'll talk a little bit about that. But right now, there's all kinds of neighborhoods all over the city and all over Fishers and Carmel and Indianapolis that have roofs that you're trying to get a couple more years out of these roofs because it's coming. Your reserve fund and your reserve study say that in 2030, the first phase of roofs are coming. So that's something that you really want to. You're going to be planning on. The reserve study is going to do that. Our company, Kirkpatrick Management Company, as a whole, are going to do everything we can not to do a special assessment. We're going to try and make sure that your funds, we're going to make sure that you're fully funding your reserve every month, and that we're following your reserve study, because we're going to try and, when we give you a budget at the beginning of the year, we're 9 times out of 10 going to make sure that it matches exactly what your reserve study is, because that's a plan down the road. There might be some deferred maintenance here and there that might pop up, and you might have to move new windows in the clubhouse from 2035 to 2030, just because they didn't go well, they didn't last as long as we thought. But the money's going to be in there. You just might have to move another project the other way. Maybe new pool furniture goes the other way. But the annual budget, you really need to adhere to that when planning any major project, just to make sure that the funds are going to be there. The other one that happens, we don't like to do it, but it does happen, is a special assessment. Most of the time, when we have a special assessment, it is because of deferred maintenance in the community. It's something where just basically for years didn't want to raise the dues, kicking the can down the road. It's something where the special assessment is really for, we didn't see it coming, or when it came, it was a lot more expensive than we thought. Now that's the most of the special assessments. Sometimes a special assessment, we've had, the way that insurance has gone, there has been quite a few neighborhoods this year that have had to do a special assessment, or at least raise their dues to catch up to the insurance costs. That's another meeting. That's not this meeting, but we had some offices in Michigan for a number of years, and those guys love special assessment. They did a special assessment every year just to pay for whatever project that was. That was an industry standard in Michigan. Around here, we would rather have it budgeted. We would rather be paying into the reserve every year, but we do it. Sometimes a project comes up, needs to be done. The money's not in there, and we need to do a special assessment. So we understand the need for that. A reserve study. I would imagine, I would be surprised if everybody on this call did not have a reserve study, or had I would be surprised if they. What am I saying? Everybody's got a reserve study. If you don't have a reserve study, I'm going to be surprised, because we insist. We'll keep insisting on it until it comes around. It really is. This is the greatest roadmap for what we do. We are. We're stewards for the association, all of us, as far as the board president, as far as the managers, and our job is to make sure that we're putting the money aside the right way. But what this does, a reserve study, is it's a physical analysis. So it goes to on-site inspection. They're going to come and take a look at it. They're going to look at the roofs, the pools, the landscapings, the boat docks, the decks, the sidewalks, the playgrounds, whatever is it is an asset for your association. It's really going to be something that it really helps on that. It's going to just identify all those things. It's going to give you a long list of what you're supposed to be doing, or what they think is yours. You're going to go in there and say, you know what, that playground's not ours. I don't know. We're not doing anything on that thing. No, you got it wrong. We don't do the doors on the neighborhood. The homeowners do the doors, something like that. Or on the pool, they're going to have, if it's a large HOA and you've got a pool, it's going to go through and get that pool, going to get the entrance. It's always going to get that entrance. There's an entrance sign that's always going to be in there. Your physical assets are going to be in that reserve study, and they're going to put a year on those, and they're going to know how long those are lasting. They're going to say, okay, you got your roofs that are last done in 2007. We've got a 30-year loan, we think we got a 30-year shingle. So we're going to go ahead and think that, and we're going to start phasing that in 2037. And that's going to be in there. That's going to be in your reserve study, and that money is going to be rolled into that. So the financial analysis is it's also going to take a look at your current reserve fund balance. Um, this is the trickiest part of the reserve study. A lot of times, this is where it hurts, because there are a lot of people who think they've got enough money in their reserves to do what they need to do, and when they get in there, they realize, okay, we got to raise dues, and we got to raise dues by a bunch. Now, we're never going to do that. We're never going to double dues. For something like for a reserve study. You can talk to your reserve study specialist, and we always will. Tomorrow, I'm going to email you this slideshow, and I'll also email you some names of the people that we use for reserve studies. You can go on their websites and take a look at it. But what they're going to do is they will work with you on that. If you are a neighborhood with fixed incomes and you know that nobody there can afford another $100 a month, I mean, I don't know anybody can afford another $100 a month on their HOA fees. They'll say, okay, what about if we do 30 a month for the next next year after that we do 30, third year we do another 30, step it up. They'll work with you, but it's just it's something that you can kind of keep going on your own and work with that. I always think a reserve study is the old garbage in, garbage out. It's really only going to be as good as you guys spend time working on it with. And I've seen some where the neighborhood just didn't, get a reserve study and never looked at it, never changed anything, and it wasn't really that accurate. It was there, and it made people feel better that there was a reserve study, but you need to be able to it needs to be worthwhile. So spend some time with that, and a funding plan. Basically, it's gonna help you budget for the next. It's going to be a 20-year plan. Typically, it's going to tell you what you need to budget for your reserves for the next 20 years. And I think that that's really the best part of the reserve study. It's just a roadmap. It really helps you plan on things. And we go back to the thing where, if your roof goes on your clubhouse and you weren't planning on that till 2030, and you got to move it up to 2025, you move some stuff around, that money's still going to be there. You just deferred maintenance, you move some maintenance around. You just got to make sure you don't lose that. You don't want to lose track of that. That's something your manager and your treasurer and you can keep an eye on. Before I go on, I didn't see if we had any questions at all. Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to ask or talk about, or any ideas? Okay. All right, I'm going to go on to a project management, which for a capital project is a big it's a big deal. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what has worked for me, and I'll tell you a little bit what hasn't worked for me. And we're just going to be, just honest and kind of tell you some things work. Your CAM. So I don't know if I introduced myself. My name's Dan Quigley. I'm senior vice president of Kirkpatrick Management. And I am your CAM's boss. I'm your CAM's boss's boss. I hire most of the CAMs that are there. We look for a lot of different skill sets. We we want to make sure they can communicate. We want to make sure that they they have some business knowledge and some different things. We just don't hire people with project management experience. I mean, it's not something where they're coming on. Some of them will come on there and they've ran a project at their business, they're different things, but a lot of times they're going to have difficulty stepping in and managing a large project. Can they manage a carpentry project? Yes. Part of the deal and part of the being with Kirkpatrick Management is we've been in business 52 years. This is our 52nd year. Family business. The Kirkpatricks are still there every day. I think I ran into 4 of them today in the hallway, and I didn't run into them, but I walked by them, and we hire vendors. We have a vendors list of people this is not their first rodeo. We won't let somebody come and work on one of our HOAs unless they've done HOA work before, and we go and look at it. It's something I take very seriously. My mentor, Joe Winship, takes it very seriously. We want to make sure that the people that we're hiring know what they're doing and are going to give us a good professional project. That's why it's okay for our CAMs to manage the projects that are a little bit smaller, the carpentry projects, the different landscape and improvements. So with landscape improvements, you're going to know a little bit about, all of us know a little bit about landscaping. Our landscapers are all going to know enough to give us what we're looking for. They're going to give us plans. They're going to give us types of plants. They're going to give us, make sure we want to make sure we don't put any cactus in our front entryway, right? Right? It's not going to last. Nothing like that's going to last. So they're going to give us the right stuff for our right area of that we live in. Replacing siding, that's something that our cams can manage. A pump room remodel, we can do that. A lot of this stuff is because we have good vendors, and our vendors are going to help us through this as a board and as cams, and we're going to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. We're going to try and be good communicators and really kind of let everybody um, be able to just be part of the project. Sometimes as board presidents, I would recommend, Sue, I'll get right with you. As board presidents, I would recommend that you should have a couple people on your board, more than three. You're hoping somebody that is a member at large that maybe you can put on the hey, can you help us out? Can you spearhead the landscape project this year? And they'll say, well, I don't know anything about landscape. I say, well, you will next year. You're going to know about it by the end of this year. Sometimes those members at large, that's really a good place for them to learn more about the neighborhood, learn more about the board, learn more about how bills are paid, learn more about the landscapers, the vendors, things like that. I think that it's a good way to basically delegate your work and help people feel like they're part of the community and part of the board. Sue, did you want to go ahead and talk? Do you have a question?
What is CAM? C-A-M.
Sorry about that. I hate it when people talk in those abbreviations. You don't tell them what they are. That is my community association manager. That is your manager, your property manager.
Okay.
That's your contact on that. And I apologize, I didn't do that. With little industry lingo that drives me crazy when people do that. So that's our manager. That's going to be the guy you work with and should be calling you back, within 24 hours, 48 hours every time you're looking for them, or emails. But
Okay.
they're going to come with a unique set of skills. Most of them, I'm very big on communicating. I want to make sure they're looking you in the eye when they're talking to you. I want to make sure that they can write an email. I want to make sure that they can do some different things, but we'll teach them how to do these projects. That's something that I've got a construction background. We've got a lot of people with a lot of different experience, but that's something where they can really, hopefully they can help you do what you need to do on this thing and make you look good as a board president.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Hire a professional to manage. So I'm going to say talk a little story, and I don't see him on here. I thought maybe Ken might be on here, and he is not. Good. So he can't dispute my story. So 2018, 2017, something like that. I was a manager of Spruce Knoll over around Kessler Boulevard and Binford Boulevard, and we had a board president going off and a new board president going on. I think it was Ken Rogers. And we had a landscape, we had an asphalt project planned for that year. And we realized that when we put the bid out for the asphalt, and when we tried to put it together and go, bid for bid, and he worked for Duke property management. I worked for Kirkpatrick management. I have a construction background. I had no idea what I was doing. It's just with asphalt, it just can be tricky. Are you going to put an inch and a half down? Are you going to have you done a core sample to see if you're going to be able to support just putting 2 inches down? There's a lot that goes on with that. So what we did is we hired a professional. We went and I knew at the time it was Oaks Construction Management Company. They took it on as a project management. They gave us a price for that, and we actually our first we were going to spend I think it was $125,000 to repave the neighborhood. We ended up getting it done correctly for $80,000, and then but paid the consultant $2,000 to help us out with that. So we were able to save money by doing it the right way. That neighborhood right now still looks good. It's they've had some crack fill and they've done some sealing and things like that. But in order to get somebody in there who they don't really have a dog in the fight, they're going to go and say, okay, this is what you need to do. We did some core samples, but that's something your CAM. Even though I thought I was smart enough, and the other guy thought we were smart, we just realized it's just not something that we could do. And so a lot of times just hiring a construction manager, someone to go out there and do that is really gonna help you out. Complete remodel of a pool house, same idea. The large roofing projects, that's one that gets tricky. I believe the people that we use on a lot of that stuff, we use there's a rock claim that we use. There's a Feasel that we've used before. There's some different people that we use for large roofing projects. We can probably help you through that a lot, but you really need to lean heavily on your contractor. And if you don't, there are project managers out there that we can get you, because those could be $2 million projects, and spending $5,000 on somebody to help you make sure the shingles you're getting aren't complete, a complete bust, really can make a lot of sense. Um, Large landscape projects. Brenda Risingmore's on here. We've had huge landscape projects at Lion's Head, where she's from. They went through, and I can't even remember. They had the name of the project that we used to call it. We had all the designs put in by all the landscape architect came and did all the beautiful designs. But then we had our landscaper do a lot of the plantings and do the different things, and so the landscape architect could come and help us through that. I think we've graduated on from that, Brenda, but I know that was really something that that helps us out, because we got another set of eyes. All of us have master gardeners. We got probably 25 of them in every neighborhood, but sometimes it helps to get somebody from the outside to really get in there and say, hey, you know what, this needs to be. We need to spread out more. We need you're supposed to be 25 pots. There's what we're doing on those kind of things. So I really think a lot of times it's just worth it. And last, but I didn't put that on here. Lastly, on a large project, if it's over $25,000, it's not going to kill you to have a lawyer take a look at it. We've got a lot of good lawyers. We got some guys. Steve Donham's a good guy at Thrasher, Bushman and Vocal. We've got Greg Chandler at Eads, Murray and Pugh, the same guys that you work with all the time. Just have them look it over. Make sure there's not some real balloon clause in there that you and your manager might have missed. It's not we don't need. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you really need lawyers to look over all your maintenance contracts. Something pretty good size, it's not a bad idea to have somebody look at. I mean, you would do it if it was your own, and this is your own money. Just have somebody just take an eyeball on it. If you paid Greg Chandler $200 to take a look at it, and you can sleep better at night, and then that's good. He might find a couple different things that he thinks are really crazy, and you can work your way through that. But that's really the best way to do that. One thing, I need to go back a second on this if I can. Hold on. There is a third option for financing capital projects, and that is by getting a loan. We have banks. All of us bank with HOA banking. You guys, your operating funds are typically with an HOA bank. Your reserve funds are probably with an HOA bank. They know how to do loans for HOAs, and so sometimes it works. If you get to where, you know what, my roofs are not, I walked into this thing and we didn't realize that our roofs need to be done, or we're going to be living in a hut in the next couple years. You can get a loan from these guys, from a HOA loan specialist, and have it spread over a number of years, and have it into your budget. A lot of times your neighborhood has to vote on it, but it typically is the last. It is the last place of the just to go to. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but if you can get it done without taking a loan, just like you will on your personal stuff, that's what you're going to want to do. Let me see if I can move on. So this is kind of where, if it's up to you, if you've got questions, things like that. Kelly, did you have anything you wanted to add on?
No, I think so far so good.
Okay.
I think we'll have some questions coming up. And I just really want to encourage everybody as well. These roundtable events are designed to actually be a collaborative session. So if at any point you have a capital project experience you would like to share, or some recommendations or advice, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and share that with your fellow board members.
All right, Marie, let me see if I'm gonna Marie, let me see you. Marie, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Yes. So my neighborhood initially had a reserve study for the decks and the siding back in 21. Well, now I'm president and the rest of the board are pretty much all new members wanting to change things. And they're wanting to use the reserve study money to pretty much make the neighborhood better because we were under the impression that HOA was going to cover everything on the exterior and everything on the interior, the homeowner fix or takes care of or for the responsibility. So my question is, do we have to redo our reserve study to budget for everything that we want to fix?
Well, a lot of times your governing documents are going to tell you how much you can change what you've already budgeted for. So in the middle of the year, unless you're not on a calendar year and you've got a new budget coming up, it might be something you have to take a look at for next year.
Okay.
I think the state of Indiana allows for, I mean, there's a number, and I believe it's $5,000 of to go, if you go over your reserve study amount by a certain amount, you can get in a fuzzy place with attorney general things like that. But as long as you're making a good business decision, you're going to be covered on that. I mean, that's a lot of what you're doing is you're, as a group, you guys are all coming together and making a business decision. I would recommend revisiting the reserve study. I think probably I would know 2021. Everybody you've done the reserve study with, or whoever you did it with, is still in business, and they don't charge nearly as much for an update. Sometimes you can get an update done for as little as $1,500, and because it's just been a couple years, and what they'll do is you can tell them what you want to do, and they'll kind of move that money around and say, you know what, Marie, you can't do that because you've got this coming up, and this is really a stop date. You need to make sure this is done, or they can help you work with it. But I would get somebody I would get those reserve study guys back in, have them zoom in for your next meeting, talk a little bit about it. It's probably be the best $1,500 you've ever spent as far as making sure, and then the neighborhood's going to know it too. Then it's not just the five of you guys sitting around a kitchen table deciding what to do. Listen, I've got these guys are professionals, they're accredited, and they're with us. They said we can do it, and this is maybe you have to do it in phases too. They might say, you know what, you can do it, but do it over 2 years. Different things like that.
Okay.
Does that make some sense?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh,
I just muted you. Hey, I'm muting you.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
Marie.
I have one more question.
That's
What are the pros and cons of a special assessment?
So Kelly, you can jump in if I don't do this very much.
Okay.
So we don't do a lot of special assessments. The pros and cons are you can raise that money really quickly. The cons is that it just gets you can get it out of the way. The pros are, listen, you're going to get that out of the way. Your dues aren't going to go up. If your dues are $300 a month, and you're gonna ask everybody for $2,000 to pay for something, in resale down the road, it's still going to be your dues are still going to be $300 a month. So it really is you'll take the one-time hit for something like that. And the cons is it's tough on a neighborhood. It's tough on people. Not everybody's going through the same thing. And so we had 2 years ago, we did a special assessment. We actually made the news on the special assessment, where every homeowner in a neighborhood in Fishers was assessed $25,000.
Wow.
And they put it up for voting, and it passed, I think, 120 to 2 or something like that, because the neighborhood they'd been deferring maintenance for so long that they had to do this. But what happened was a lot of them had to go out and get home loans. They had to get home equity loans to do that. But then we finished the project. The project was done in a year. They remodeled. They got brand new siding, brand new decks, brand new chimneys. The place looks beautiful. their resale of their homes went up by a large percentage. It just made sense. And so we've done that before. Wasn't very happy about it. Nobody's very happy about it, but we had one board member just kind of put his foot down and said, listen, we can't, and if we wait until we've got the money for this, it's not going to work. So they did a special assessment and really got that thing through.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And I think, Dan, we may want to touch on situations as well as not, also with special assessments, and Maureen, this may go into a little bit of your train of thought. Not necessarily just capital projects. You also see those obviously when you have emergency situations as well. And so that's kind of a different side to it. But that's looking at it from a different angle as well.
Because we have had to do them. We did a couple this year because sometimes those the insurance rates went up so high that there was not enough budget to make that. So there was a mid-year special assessment in order to pay for the insurance on some of our condominium associations. Very, very tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Marie. Anybody else have any ideas, questions, or things that's worked for them, things that haven't worked for them? Okay, Lisa. Should be faster at that. Let me see. Lisa and Kit. All right, let me find one. How am I doing this wrong? Oh, there we go. Okay, Lisa, can you, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have something you want to ask about or talk about?
Well, maybe just a brief summary. I think that Lexington Woods over here in Avon is probably a little different than a lot of your homeowner associations that you have, in that we're new as of last year. We're a 22-year-old neighborhood. And for 19 of those years, we were managed by the same person. We never had a reserve study. We didn't talk about improvements and maintenance, and the owner of the company did a lot of work for us on his own, and patched things and put band-aids on things, and then he quit and gave us to another management company that didn't know anything. Now I've been president. Well, I've been here 2015, for a while. And so right now we had $35,000, I think, in the reserve in 2020, actually 2019. And then now we have 1,000 maybe. So
Okay.
we're not in a position to do a reserve study, because they're over 5,000. I think I was offered, and I thought, well, it'd be great if we could. But in addition to that, we have a giant laundry list that the board and I a few years ago, did a walkthrough, and we've got a huge list of maintenance, repairs, improvements, and we've got kind of what I guess we did our own reserve study. And so
Okay.
we've been working on this spreadsheet of things, little by little, but we got the dues raised 25% last year, not this year, only 5% this year without a vote from the members, but 25% the year before, because we had so very many things that needed taken care of, and the dues hadn't raised in our neighborhood only twice in all those years. I mean, there was just no forward thinking, nothing. And no one ever thought about it. And, the board wasn't led that way. So now we've got, we did a lot of work last year, but what we did was we're trying to use our money wisely. And I developed a committee of neighborhood people. So I'm trying to get the board, plus I've got a committee of a lot of people. So we're trying to tap into everyone's talents and do a lot of do-it-yourselfing, so that we pay for materials and then we get people to do the projects. Now we can't do them all that way for sure, but we've been able to make some progress that way. But when I saw this seminar come up, I thought, oh wow, that's great, because we do have a lot of things. We got a pool. Landscaping, you were talking about that. That's something we may tackle ourselves this spring. I'm thinking that's on our list, and we're going to minimize, take a lot of things out and just put grass there because we can't afford to upkeep it. Well, I guess I really, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're kind of doing it. I think what you're doing is your own your own reserve study, especially with the spreadsheet. Sounds exactly like what that is, and you're able to prioritize the work, which is exactly what a reserve study is going to do. And be able to use your funds as you go. I think eventually, with being able to raise your dues 30% in the last 2 years is a good sign. And that's a good, hopefully we can help you just manage your funds on that and do what you need to do. And even like you said, doing some of your own stuff is really that saves a lot of money. You don't want to do that, and it'll drive your insurance carrier crazy if he ever drives by and sees you guys out there with shovels planting trees. But it's sometimes it's the way you got to do it. And then
Right.
years down the road, when the money starts, you got some projects done, the money starts getting better. You're gonna have a nice little reserve out there, and you'll be able to just plan ahead and do that kind of stuff. So I think you're doing it. I think the spreadsheet's your friend. Just keep that going. Make sure if nothing ever comes off that spreadsheet, that's the thing. You want to make sure you don't want to defer that project too long. Never cross anything out. Just move it maybe down to the bottom or to the middle, something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's what we've been doing. We did.
Oh, sorry. Lisa, I'll be right with you, Lisa. Sorry about that. Marie, I cut you off. I don't know if I can get you back on there. I'm sorry, Marie.
But at some point, it would be
Okay.
nice. We're trying to build up our reserves, and then maybe we can do a formal, reserve study.
Yeah.
And maybe that kind of thing can happen.
You kind of got it going. I think that's I think that's what you'll see. A lot of these guys have been doing this for a long time. Tom Craig's on here, been doing it a long time. I know he's got a reserve study, but he's also got a heck of a spreadsheet someplace. I know, as does Brenda. So I mean, it's one of those things where you're doing the right thing. That's what everybody wants to do.
Good.
Lisa,
Mhm.
I think you were waiting patiently, I think.
Me?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no, I just want to say thank you. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, that was all.
Okay. I'm going to look here. We've got Dan. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to ask you to unmute if I can. Dan Trost.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
I can.
I became the president of Villages of Oak Manor 3 months ago,
Okay.
and we have been working on a project for landscape management for common areas for the last 2 years. We have had a committee working on this, which consists of basically 3 households. My question to you is, as a president, how do you, or how should I address a situation where we have people that are wanting to change landscaping in areas that appear to be fine because they want different things in an area?
I think there isn't a lot of neighborhoods that have a budget for that. I mean that I think you might be able to approach that, and other board members will be able to tell you some different things. But a lot of times even though you would rather not have azaleas or whatever are out there, you would rather have something else. If it's there, it's growing and it looks pretty good. I think that financially that might be the best bet. And say we need to spend our money on this other stuff right now that our landscape architect, our landscapers have done a lot, have put some time into. I was in a neighborhood in 2020 that shrunk their mulch beds by 20%. And you wouldn't believe the amount of money that saved them. But it was, they just got rid of some plants that just weren't doing anything for anybody anymore. They did it for a budget reason, and they were able to save that money down the road on mulch, on bushes, on that around the thing. But I would approach it from a financial standpoint. They elected you to the board and they elected you as president. So I think you could probably say, listen, this makes more sense. Let's put it on our wish list, put it on, we won't forget about it, but put it in there, and it's on the list every year. And when we get down to it, we'll get down to it.
Yes, we have money budgeted for so much per year.
Yep.
Reserve funding is not a problem for us. We've spent a lot of money on a clubhouse repair. We spent a ton of money on a pool repair. But this could turn into be a 5-year program, and I'm not sure the need is there. So I guess we will probably tackle it as a budget item because only a fifth of the amount of money is allocated per year.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And if you need to, drag it in a horticulturist or some sort of outside expert, it's usually not a bad idea. And sometimes I can't remember. Are you guys Westfield? Is that where you are?
Yes.
It's the city of Westfield might have something. You never know. It's not a small town anymore. That used to be a dinky little town, Westfield. That's a booming metropolis. I'm sure they've got some sort of on staff somebody that might be able to come and take a look at some different things for you and give you some ideas.
Well, we already have hired a landscape architect
There you go.
to do
Yeah.
that part. He seems to want to spend all the money.
Yep, they'll do that too, but that's all right. You're the boss. You can move
All righty.
on.
Thank you.
All right, no problem, Dan. Brenda, I'm gonna go ahead and allow you to talk as long as you say nice things about me. Where are you? You're there, Brenda. I'm gonna ask you to unmute. I don't know why it's not working as well. I think I have to
Okay,
mute Dan
I'm here,
first.
Dan.
There you go, Brenda. Okay.
I was just going to mention, one of the previous people, were talking about, very large moneyed item projects that, were a little more than they could deal with. And when I joined the board 6 years ago, yes, it's true.
I'm only gonna stay on for 1 year, Dan. I promise. I'm only here 1 year. 6 years later. Go ahead.
And then you left us. Don't
Yeah.
start. Don't
All right.
start. What I was going to say is that we do a lot of revolving projects. We have 22 buildings with 6 condos in each building, and we try and paint 3 buildings a year, and it's a 7-year cycle. After we finished the 7 years, we realized we did that brilliant little thing where we took the kitchen, what do you call them? It's wooden underneath the kitchen windows.
Oh yeah, you did some panels.
We pulled those panels off and we really insulated that, painted it. It improved the look of all of the buildings, and we don't need to paint every year now. 7 years and we're good. So what we're doing now is going around in a rotating manner, and we are replacing trim and siding that is looking its age, and we're replacing it all with fiber cement, which our reserve study suggested would, because that only needs to be painted every 15 years.
Yeah.
So the rotating work and it's all color coded. We've got a really good system, has worked for us. And as far as the landscaping is concerned, we use a local person, a guy who, it's the Rosie's Hughes Landscaping Group. And Kevin Hughes comes in and he knows what his budget is. And it's not huge, but it's like, okay, these things need to be done and you're going to have to do it within this budget. And he does it every year, and like 3 or 4 buildings get new landscaping. And once that's all finished with our 22 buildings, we're done. So I just wanted to share that, the revolving
phasing,
work.
yeah. Rotating the work, phasing the work. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's how a lot of people do roofs, a lot of do paint projects, and you guys have done a little bit of everything on that. I forgot about your vestibules, your
Mhm.
painting, all that's through there. So
Anyway, thank
thank
you.
you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
I think, let me see, I'm trying to go through. Sue Smith, you're back up again, I think. If she's in here, let me see. Sue.
I had a quick question earlier about Cam. Now, my main question is what you
Yes.
guys talked about with Lisa. She's going to have some of her residents, do volunteer work. Now, we're catching heck on that here in just the last couple of weeks because they don't want anybody as a resident to be doing any work. And you said make sure the insurance guy doesn't see you. Now, we have a problem here.
So what you can do though is they have volunteer insurance. What I would do on that, I'm sorry, I was a smart aleck because that's my nature. But you can get, if you talk to your agent, there are volunteer insurance policies so that your board can volunteer to do certain things. They're not going to allow you to get up on a ladder with a chainsaw,
Right.
but they're going to let you plant some things and do some different things around the neighborhood.
Okay, that's what I want to know. So now is that who takes out the insurance? The board does.
Well, it would be the board does, but it's still a lot cheaper than hiring someone to do the work. So
Right,
it would be
but you
it would be the association itself would do that.
The
So there's
association takes a volunteer policy out with their present insurance company.
Yes, yeah. Try that out. If that doesn't work, give me a call tomorrow, or if you're Cam, give them a call, have them start researching it, and have them come see me. I think I've got a couple people that we can track down and get that taken care
I
of.
will do that because Bernard, I just talked to him yesterday. So I will handle it.
All right.
Thank
Bernard can be pig-headed though. You talk to Brenda. Not pig-headed, strong-headed. Pig-head sounds mean.
Who do you want me to talk to? Brenda?
No, you're not allowed to talk to Brenda about it.
Oh.
She knows all about it. So yeah, no, we'll but I appreciate that. But yeah, we can find there is some volunteer insurance. It's not horrible, but it'll make everybody feel a little bit better.
Wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. No problem. And I think there was someone else. I think everybody, is anybody else? Lisa, I think your hand is still raised, but I think you have talked, if I'm correct.
Well,
Oh, you're there.
yeah, I guess it is still raised, but I did have one thing to say about that.
Sure.
Would it be, is it okay if, because I'm trying to, on the committee and then on the board as well. We do have some licensed and bonded electricians and a welder, and we're kind of going that route. So it's okay. Would it still be volunteer if it were, someone like that, like doing electrical, like an electrician that's licensed doing electrical?
See, I think it's still going to be, because they are not going to be charging for it, and they're probably not running it through their company.
Right.
So
True.
I think that's the idea on that. It's there's nothing wrong with hiring those people. Board members, but as long as it is it's discussed, it's open out in the open. There is no conflict of interest if everybody knows that if you shouldn't have to suffer as an association because the best guy in the neighborhood to do the sign lighting is sitting next to you at a board meeting. So as long as it's disclosed, as long as there's other bids, out there, or if you're going to do something like that, if you want to hire him to do the work, that's fine. But I would imagine, I don't know. I don't know what we would do on that one. That would be something we could talk to the insurance agent about. If he was licensed or a welder or different things like that, doing it off book, it's still going to be a little tricky, I think.
Well, for free off book.
Yeah, and that's the word.
Okay.
That's the freeze the part I worry about.
Oh, well, that's
yeah.
the part I like.
I think everybody on this call likes that word.
Yeah.
But I think that we just want to make sure, because otherwise, it's just to make sure there might be some sort of an agreement that would be easy enough to get to write up and do that.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem. No problem. I think that is it with questions. Did anybody else have a question? Kelly, I haven't let you talk at all. I apologize for that.
That's actually okay. I'm monitoring the chat and keeping things
Okay.
quiet on this end.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and call it a night. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. My number here is on the screen. So that is me, that Dan Quigley, Senior Vice President of Associations. That is my cell number. So you guys pay for my cell number. I work for you. You can give me a call. If you're having trouble with your CAM, if you're having trouble with your regional manager, you have something going on and you cannot find anybody, text me, call me, and I can make things happen. But most of the time, it's a backup. But it's about twice a year I get a call from somebody, and I can usually jump on it. Kelly gets nervous when I give out my cell number, but it's just if you need it, you pay for it, you can find me. I'm better at text than I am at answering the phone, because most of the time I'm in a meeting and it's off, the ringer is off. But go ahead and try it. Kelly's number and email address is on here. Kelly is the Director of Client Relations, as we said. She deals only with board presidents. Her job is to try and make your job easier. And She's done this for 20 years, doing different things in different high rises, condos, HOAs, development. She's done a little bit of everything. And we're lucky enough to have her at Kirkpatrick Management and help us out through this. And it's really been a good program for us because we can maybe, you know, problems are always a lot easier to solve when they're this big. It's when they get this big and they make the news that we're in trouble. So she's there to help you through anything you need.
And please feel free to reach out to me. You all should have received some information from me around the middle of February, which also provided all of my contact information, a little bit about the Client Relations Division. And then you will all be hearing from me on typically a quarterly basis, if not more regular, just to check in on services, make sure that you are receiving the highest service level and taking that proactive approach. If we do have issues, that we are addressing them as quickly as possible. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime as well with any questions or concerns. And as Dan said, I'd like to thank you all for joining us on this beautiful evening.
All right, we're gonna go out and walk that dog that you just heard bark at us. So you guys have
27 during this call.
you guys have a great evening, and thank you all for being part of Kirkpatrick Management Company. We appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.